and Claudia are the only brave ones who sit in the front row. And also back there we got Michael, Elona, and Efrat, who just moved to Savannah. They're now living in Richmond Hill. I know Flo's over here. And they're over there. They moved here from Israel and Colorado and Texas and several other places, so welcome. Okay, I don't know if I want to be on the camera. Why don't you stand here? I'll just welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to our Mickve Israel Memorial Hall. It's the Mordechai Sheffer Memorial Hall. As we're going to now invite National Commander Nelson Millitz to come on up. We're not going to review his bill because we did services. We're going to just introduce him, and people are going to be asking questions. Can't questions. National Commander Millitz is going to repeat the question for you. So everyone, welcome National Commander Millitz.
Thank you, Rabbi. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. It's wonderful to be among these friendly people. And I didn't expect you to be this friendly. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I have to hold the shirt again. I was just invited, the Rabbi and everybody else. This is fantastic, and I will wear it in my synagogue and see what they say. I'm proud of it. It's a little bit too big, but that's okay. No, don't worry about it. Thank you. You're being friendly. And I used to not have friendly people. I appreciate that. Okay, again, very quickly. Freedom is not free. You all know that. Those that serve and those that support those that serve, their family members, are the most important people in the world to me, especially during my 1 year as National Commander of the Jewish War Veterans, an organization that has existed for 127 years. Not as long as this great synagogue, but we're getting there, and we're trying to continue and to serve the veterans. No matter what your religion, your race, your nationality, we serve all veterans. We serve the Israeli Defense Forces. In fact, I'm going on a trip. I'm heading up a trip on April 20th to 30th to Israel. We are hoping to break the record. 50 people. But the major problem Jewish not said anything for both parties against these individuals. Corporations have slowly Any other questions or comments? You don't want to hear me talk.
Should be on high alert.
Great, well, that's really a statement, a great statement. And I've got police officers, some retired, some current police officers, people from different services that were aware of this threat a day or two ahead of time before it came out. They arrested that individual that was threatening, it was probably a synagogue, but we're not really sure, that he was going to attack the Jewish people. But the entire state of New Jersey, every synagogue had to get support from their local police forces, state troopers, and everybody else. I have never seen this before. You could have it anywhere, especially California, Texas, Chicago, Pittsburgh. They're very much aware of what's happening. Any other comments, or questions? Has the golden era ended, or is it just starting? Valid point. Please go ahead.
I don't know if there's an answer to that question, but you said you went to the Air Force Academy of May, and there have been incidents at the Air Force Academy recently on Yom Kippur. They had a leadership, like a mandatory leadership event where you could get out of it. They could have chosen to do it on some other day, and they didn't choose to do it on that day. And then of the four, including the Coast Guard Academy, of the four service academies, it just seems like, from what I've read, the Air Force Academy, for some reason, has more of this Christian nationalist input than West Point or Annapolis or up there at the Coast Guard Academy. And I don't understand why the Air Force is like that compared to the other three branches.
Okay, first of all, let me summarize the question or the statement. Okay, the Air Force Academy, I guess about 20 years ago, had proselytizing for the Protestant faith, obviously. And that was stopped as soon as word got out to the Jewish War veterans, the Jewish Welfare Board, the Aleph Institute. Does it continue or not? Good question. And then on Yom Kippur, the commander's training, which is mandatory training for all cadets at the Air Force Academy, was scheduled. It was scheduled 9 months ago. Rabbi Chaplain at the Air Force Academy, Rappaport, immediately when he saw that schedule months ago, sent a letter through his chief chaplain to the superintendent of the Air Force, Clark, who I mentioned during services. So Friday night, with these 70 Jewish cadets and midshipmen and ROTC cadets in that classroom, and the Air Force Academy Lieutenant General Clark walking in, they asked the question, why did you schedule commander's training? He didn't know about it, he said, about Yom Kippur taking place on that date. But then he gets into his Jewish background. Should I believe what he said? Should anybody believe that? What happened? The Jewish war veterans were notified a couple hours before Yom Kippur of this happening. We couldn't do much at that time. We should have been notified by the cadets ahead of time. We should have been notified by other people ahead of time. What really happened is Chaplain Rappaport's letter going to the chief chaplain, from the best we could determine, died there, saying you can't schedule on this date. You shouldn't schedule on the Yom Kippur. I think he was severely criticized by General Clark. It will not happen again, according to General Clark, and I believe General Clark will be there for another 2 years, maybe longer. It was a mistake on the Air Force Academy. It was a mistake in continuing what they had in the past, and it gives a bad reputation to the Air Force Academy. That's the facts I know. We will keep an eye on every holiday that they schedule anything on, and we'll make sure it's changed. We're not going to sit by at the Jewish War Veterans and let this happen again. Some things, individual anti-Semitism, we will handle. And I told the cadets out there and the midshipmen, you have to make sure you go through your supervisor. If they can't resolve those problems, and there are some out there and elsewhere, we will take action. We're a Jewish organization. We have so many lawyers, you can't get rid of them. Okay. No, I don't mean that. My friends and my family members are lawyers, so I'm going to get in trouble with that. But I love lawyers to a certain extent. Okay. Valid question. We'll keep an eye on that. Try to make sure it doesn't happen, that training. But the Air Force will have that reputation for many, many years of proselytizing. And it happened. Any other questions or comments? I can't see.
Okay.
Please.
I am very concerned about colleges. I have 2 grandchildren that start in college.
Yeah.
And I have heard horrible things, a lot of anti-Semitism on the college campuses.
Yeah.
What can we do about it?
Question has to do with colleges and anti-Semitism on colleges. It's increasing tremendously. There's many causes for it, but I think the principal cause is because the professors have been given the wrong information about Israel. I could go into a lot of stuff. Well, you know a lot of things about Israel. I know a lot of things about Israel. They're giving biased information about Israel. It's relating to the Jewish children. What can we do about it? The Jewish War Veterans just joined Stand With Us. They're a fantastic organization which literally goes to college campuses to defend and to make sure that there's not anti-Semitism on the college campuses. For example, and there's other organizations out there, but Stand With Us at college campuses and high school is the best I've seen. Situation recently at Berkeley University Law School and a lot of their fraternities, sororities, law school organizations with students in there specifically came out saying Jews can't speak with their invitation at any of their facilities, at any of their causes, with any of their events if they support Israel. That's specifically saying that Jews are not welcome there. Now, we've heard that. Again, this is not Berkeley University Law School. They're claiming they had nothing to do with it, but they didn't stop it. It's against their policies. But these different fraternities, sororities came out that way. So what we did with Stand With Us and many other Jewish organizations, we actually went to the firms, the law firms that send money to these individual organizations to support their children, to support their internships, and we said, cut it off. And they're doing it. That gets their attention. They will some of them will reverse their decision to issue that policy that Jews can't speak here or can't be members here. It'll take a while. It'll take several months, in my opinion. But we will follow this up, and it's not just us, against unity of Jewish organizations getting together and fighting this anti-Semitism. It's obvious anti-Semitism. So that's something we have to do, and I recommend you join Stand With Us. I just attended their gala in Philadelphia, by the way. Fantastic. Please go ahead.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if this is true because I don't believe everything I hear on the internet or on television, but I've heard that, please, this is not political. As a Republican, you want to turn this into a Christian nation.
Okay, the question is, he heard on the radio that the Republicans are going to turn this into a Christian nation. No. I heard on the radio that the Democrats are going to turn this into an anti-Semitic nation because they're going to come out against Israel. I don't know what true is. Nobody knows what true is. You hear all kinds of stuff on the radio. You go on the internet and you hear all kinds of stuff. Nothing's verified. I'm National Commander of the Jewish War Veterans. I can't take a policy decision. I can't talk about the Republicans or the Democrats in that kind of light. If they come out against the veterans, any party, any individual, I'll come out against them very heavily with public statements and support from many people. But I can't answer that question because I don't think it's correct. I don't know. I agree with. Don't believe anything on the radio, on TV, in the media until you verify it. Please go ahead.
I have a grandson who goes to the University of Florida,
Yeah.
where there are a lot of Jewish students.
Yeah.
They had a football game with Georgia, but the game was played in Jacksonville. Okay, they have those big screens that light up.
Yeah.
Say various things. When they came into the facility, they were anti-Semitic.
I remember. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't bad. There were anti-Semitic messages on this board.
Kanye West was right. It says something like that.
Yeah, something,
Yeah.
something like that. And, of course, it was taken down, and
Yeah.
the facility said they had no idea.
Okay, so real quick, besides being the commander of Post 320, I am the seemingly forever, and my Gators are playing right now.
That's right.
I am the secretary treasurer of the Savannah Gator Club. So what happened?
Go
was-
Gators!
Go Gators!
So what happened was, this was outside the stadium, not inside.
Oh.
And these people somehow put projections onto the outside wall of the stadium. And it was quickly taken down, but of course screenshots were made of it. And they're still looking to see who it was, but they have not figured that out. North Florida, Jacksonville in particular, but North Florida and South Georgia, not south of here, are particular hotbeds of anti-Semitism. And, you know, some people think, you know, those parts of the state of Florida, you should go back to Confederacy. So that is an issue. It's not going away. Both universities condemned it. Getting back to universities, though, what I really do for a living is I'm a professor at Georgia Southern University. There 21 years. To my knowledge, in all 21 years as a professor, I've never seen any anti-Semitic, and so it's a case by case, you know, you talk about Berkeley, but it's a case by case thing. It's not a blanket of all universities. I've never seen anything like that at Georgia Southern, either on our Armstrong campus where I teach at, or in Statesboro. And our administration bends over backwards to ensure that holidays are, you know, that notifications made and things like that. And things like that are known to the community. So again, universities itself, it's got to be on a case by case situation because every university is different. And like I said, I've never had any issues. None of my students have ever had any issues with taking off for holidays that I know of. Mm-hmm. And we do have a relationship with Rabbi Refson here at the Chabad. And, you know, we just have not seen anything like that at Georgia Southern. So it really is a case-by-case thing. It's not
and I agree
necessarily every, you know, it's not a blanket every university in the United States.
And I thank you for that comment. Temple University, where I got my first bachelor's degree at, they're anti-Semitic in a lot of different areas. A lot of the professors. The university trustees said freedom of speech is very important, so they can't stop them from speaking about that. But when they take action against individual Jewish children now who want to take off for Jewish holidays, then a lot of organizations, including Stand With Us and the Jewish War Veterans, get involved. ADL, Anti-Defamation League, has said that New Jersey is probably the most, and they did use the words probably, the most anti-Semitic state in the Union. New York comes after New Jersey. So maybe it is isolated, I agree with you. And you have to address the isolated cases. Okay, Rabbi, how much time do I have?
Yeah, probably 10 or 15 minutes at least.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Who? Oh, I didn't see you over there. Please.
Well, the BDS movement, the BDS movement is very active on many university campuses. And so the question comes up really is, can you be anti-Zionist but not be anti-Semitic? And certainly there are many people on campuses and in the population in general who claim that. You hear people say, well, I'm an anti-Zionist, I don't agree with Israel, but I'm not anti-Semitic. But that statement has been questioned. That concept has been questioned a lot. And I remember last year when almost all high holiday services were being put on Zoom or YouTube. After our holiday service on Zoom, I happened to tune in to on YouTube on it was a very large congregation in New York, and I don't remember the congregation, but actually the sermon by the rabbi actually dealt with that issue, and very much questioned that concept that some people will say they really aren't anti-Semitic, but they just don't like Israel. And I hope Rabbi Haas will maybe address that one day in one of our sermons. Okay.
Real fast, though, the Jewish War Veterans supports Israel and supported Israel since the day it was born. I support Israel, and I believe the statement that you can be anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic, you can be anti-Zionist, but you won't be anti-Semitic, is a false statement. You're anti-Semitic if you're anti-Zionist. It's the Jewish state. Personally believe that. Who has a question next? Oh, please, go ahead.
So the Jewish War Veterans several years ago attempted to do Purim baskets for deploying military personnel. It was about 5 years ago. We did 50 baskets, and at the time there was a Jewish chaplain at Fort Stewart. The difficulty that we have is that we were trying to provide services for our local military, and we do have a couple of different bases around, and it was suggested to us that by identifying Jewishly, we were targeting soldiers who then no longer would be accepted by the rest of the people in their battalions. In particular, if we were, for example, to provide snacks for a Friday night, that those soldiers, in wanting to meld better with the other people in their company, they might not want to do something with the Jewish community because they want to do what everybody else is doing on Friday night. But more so than identifying Jewishly, that we made them targets when we weren't around. Can you address the best way for us locally to serve our local military soldiers so that we don't target them, but we actually provide for their needs?
I disagree with that statement, whoever gave it to you, that you're targeting the Jewish troops. That's incorrect. If you want to be identified Jewish in the military, you get identified Jewish in the military, and there should be no discrimination against you. Now, you have the option when you enlist and later on to put down your religion on your application. If I showed you my dog tag, which I'm wearing my dog tag right now, it says Jewish. Some people choose not to do that. Go through the chaplains on the basis of the answer. The chaplains have a list of anybody that identified them by religion, any religion, and they can provide those crackers, that food. In addition to that, the Jewish War Veterans every year for Hanukkah sends care packages through the Jewish Welfare Board, and now we're starting with the Olive Institute. And we also added we're sending care packages to the IDF, people, going through the embassy, Israeli embassy. And we sent over 10,000 packages over the last 3 years. In those packages, we send cards and letters, mostly from religious school kids. They're beautiful. Some are a little obnoxious, kill the enemy kind of thing, but that's just, we take them out. But for what you said, I've heard before. Go through the chaplain. Doesn't matter if it's a Jewish, Protestant, Catholic chaplain, or Muslim chaplains work with us quite a bit because we work with them. And they'll get the information and the packages to the Jewish troops. Don't feel you're separating them. Different story when you're in Iraq, when you're in Afghanistan, when you're deployed overseas. Definitely go through the local chaplains and let them take care of distribution. Can't distribute directly to anybody, no matter what their religion is, because it does pinpoint them. Hope I answered your question. Yes. Please.
I would just like to say, if you haven't already voted, get out there and vote. I think it's very relevant to this discussion.
Thank you. Anything else? Let me end. I started the question with, are we ending the golden era? Great question. Are we starting a new golden era or a new period of time for the Jewish people in this country? We'll find out over the next 2 years, after the next presidential election. I don't know who's going to run. Everybody has their feelings about who shouldn't run and who should run. But we'll find out during those campaigns about how they're going to support the Jewish people. And then after they're elected, they change their minds sometimes, but they usually have to keep to their agreements, to what they're telling you. Bottom line is, things are changing. Keep your eyes open, support the Jewish organizations like JWV, like Stand With Us, like Jewish Welfare Board, the Olive Institute, there's a lot of them out there. And fight anti-Semitism wherever you see it. If you sit by and let it happen, it'll get worse. Thank you all again. Thank you, Rabbi Haas, for inviting me here.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And again, we're so thrilled to have you. You had your national convention here earlier this year as well. Do you have it here every 5 years or so?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to it. You should have it here every year, if you're asking me. Well, thank you again. This concludes our service today. We want to thank everyone for joining us. Again, thank you. One more hand for, of course, National Commander Millitz.
Thank you all.
And we will